You want to feel like you're able to aim at your highest level every single time you play. So you go to YouTube and you see all these guides giving you very basic information. They clickbait consistency and then give you common sense, like doing some kind of warm-up before you play a game of calm. I'm here to give you what you're actually looking for. A few months ago, I was in an aim coaching session with Zexro when he was still a Valorant pro for Dark Zero. I gave him the advice I'm about to give you, and he told me he'd received it from another coach back in his pro Fortnite days and has used it since. This is a technique used by pros, and yet I don't see any good guides online for it. Maybe they exist, but I haven't seen them. Before I get into this technique, I have to clarify inconsistency can come from a variety of different sources. You may be very tired, very worn out from school or work, and you may be declaring performance as worse than usual when in reality there are just harder in-game factors limiting you, like better enemies. I can't make you sleep. I'm not your teacher, professor, or boss, and I am very rarely going to be on the other team in game. I cannot affect any of these factors. The consistency I plan to solve is from a fourth source, inconsistency that is caused by your own mind. And this isn't me saying, oh, the inconsistency is in your head, it's not real. It is there. It is your own mind fighting itself, and it is hurting your gameplay. I'm sure that everyone watching this has hit a flick or two that they were surprised by or did not see coming. Things we could never think to replicate. And I'm sure we've all had thoughts on how can I do this again? How can I repeat that flick? Your unconscious mind hit that flick. Your conscious mind now seeks to replicate it. This is your mind fighting itself. Anatomically speaking, muscles are partially tensed by contracting a number of fibers that isn't equal to the whole muscle. Let's say you have 20 muscle fibers. You might have contracted 10 of them to flick to the guy off screen. Your conscious mind has no way of knowing this or how to replicate it. But this is not luck. Your unconscious mind understands this motion perfectly and can replicate it. Inconsistency comes from your conscious mind using thoughts of trying to repeat this motion. All this does is create inner chaos and limits your unconscious to verbal instructions. I'm going to spend the rest of this video trying to give you strategies to stop overthinking and using your conscious to ruin your aim, but it isn't nearly as easy as you'd think, so make sure to stick around through those. Before I do that, make sure you subscribe. Please, it helps a ton. Due to its nature, your conscious mind always tries to do good. You want consistency on demand, so you're watching this video. But to truly be able to get to this level, you need to surrender this desire for consistency. As long as your focus is on trying to create consistency, it will not be created. Let's say you manage to play well, so you manage to achieve a flow state or a state where your unconscious mind is completely in control and you feel completely focused on playing and you feel like you're playing extremely well. Your conscious mind may turn this state of peace into a war zone within your own head that will destroy your gameplay, oftentimes with something as simple as an acknowledgement of the state you're in or an attempt to put something into words, an attempt to think. Once this happens, you feel yourself becoming aware. You'll lose the flow state, you won't be able to perform as well as you were performing. Overthinking will return. You may very well put yourself in a downward spiral by acknowledging your fall from a graceful state of mind. This will just make things worse. If you just fell out of a flow state, you will feel somewhat like the point you started in. There may be a higher amount of acetylcholine in your brain making you more focused, and you may not be in the exact same state of mind, but the mental battle you are fighting is pretty much in the same spot. You want to do well. You have done well in the past and you want to reattain that. The first thing that you should never do is try to figure out how those motor movements were made in the past. You will not succeed at this. This will push you further away from flow. As I said above, you cannot control your unconscious like this. Don't try to do so. Instead, relax. Allow the unconscious mind to make these movements on its own without your own conscious interference. But relaxation in this way is hard to achieve, especially under the pressure of a big game. You cannot constantly be policing yourself for relaxing or trying to relax, or you won't be relaxed. True relaxation comes from focus and letting go. Accepting you won't be able to put yourself in a flow state is the only way to achieve a flow state. Accepting you won't be able to replicate that fast flick onto someone that felt like luck but wasn't is the only way to get that flick every single time. To play with complete abandon is the only way to unlock your fullest potential. Sometimes to get into a good state, to hold focus, or something like this, you need to distract your conscious mind without distracting it from the task at hand. Keep its focus channeled while keeping it from overstepping its bounds. Tennis players will use the seams of their tennis balls and just completely focus on those at times. As a gamer, I'd recommend using your breath, your crosshair, and your enemy's character model or head as a place to put your direct attention onto. Try to channel your focus onto them and allow your unconscious to take over for flicking to targets effortlessly. Now, this is a really intangible concept. It's impossible to understand with words simply because trying to escape from the conscious self that creates the words is the very definition of what we're trying to achieve. I can already see the comments. This guy's insane. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy's on something. I've gotten those comments on far less radical videos. But trust me, these are the ideas that made Tom Brady Tom Brady. They made the Warriors the Warriors. They are not new. They are not new to gaming. Quieting the mind is one of the simplest yet hardest practices in sports. If you wish to learn more about it, The Inner Game of Tennis is an entire book dedicated to quieting the mind. This book is essential for anyone looking to seriously compete in sports or esports. With this advice now in your hands, you should not instantly become consistent. You should not instantly be able to control your conscious mind and hit a flow state every time. If you think you can, that means you haven't even hit a flow state once. The only time I've ever felt like a flow state was for about half of a Vox TS high score run, and let me tell you, it was amazing. We both have a very long journey to go to being able to control our conscious minds, but that is not a bad thing. It gives us a clear path towards better consistency. But keep in mind, inconsistency is still a fact of life. No one can force themselves into a flow state, and other factors exist in consistency. So stop seeking consistency, and in this way you're most likely to find it. If you want more aim tips, subscribe. If you want an aim coach, check me out on Metafy, and thanks for somehow watching till the end.